Why isn't my thing coming on? Oh, it is on. Dude. Good evening all, I hope we are well. How you doing, Bob? Hi Jack, hi Chad, hi Bill. How you all doing? Sorry, started a bit late this evening. I was waiting on one of my kids to get back home, and he didn't have keys, so I had to just sit around and wait. Oh, I don't believe I did it again. I keep making coffees and forgetting to put sweetener in it. Hi Daniel. I should really get a packet of sweeteners out here just in case each time my stupid brain forgets. Hey Jeffrey, Welsh Piper, how you doing? Well, tonight I brought out my pipe, this one, because I'm breaking it in. I've been smoking it virtually every day since I gifted it to myself. And I also brought out with me an A. Chapman half Corona. It's a small 44 ring gauge cigar, but it's always a good smoke. And I recently got some in, thankfully not stopped on the way. So for the money, they're a great cigar. Problem is, like with most Cubans, a lot of them are tight, and I find that a lot of the narrower ring gauges are more likely to be tight, and that's so far been. This is the second cigar out of the box, and both of them are tight. I like to sort of poke both of them to loosen them up a little bit. It's getting old, not stupid. It's also because I moved. Basically, my coffee cupboard, coffee and tea and condiments, is above the sink, and the little sweeteners I have Hermesitas, and you push the spring thing at the top, and the sweeteners come out the bottom. And if you get that wet, that's kaput. That's the end of it. And every so often, because it's a small little thing, you're taking something out of the cupboard, you'll knock it, it falls out, and that's the end of that tub. So a couple of weeks back, I changed it into a different cupboard, just the sweetener. So when I'm making coffee, everything comes out of that cupboard, and I just forget to go to the other cupboard to do the sweetener. It's just kind of out of routine. That's the real reason. Daniel, I used a similar blend to break in. Actually, I didn't. I think I used vanilla cream, and vanilla cream is an equally rich blend for breaking in a pipe, I suppose. But yes, you're right. I usually used 40th, but I didn't on this occasion because I kept the balance of that 40th anniversary to give to Jack. And that is, I think I've taken it in now, so it's moving one step nearer to getting shipped. So that must be upstairs. Looks dark flaky in your LCS. Good, glad to hear it. Received a volcano, cool. I'm glad it arrived okay, Bill. So my question is whether to start with a pipe and then move to the cigar or not. Once I smoke a cigar, I'm not usually in the mood for a pipe. So how you all been this weekend so far? wife is trying to persuade me to get up at the crack of dawn. She wants to go to a car boot sale. And usually I'd be all for that, but depending on what time I get to sleep. She wants to get a bike for one of my boys, who was stolen a few months ago. Hey Andrew. Missouri Meerschaum apple pipe. Cool, Forrest. Good for you. Tony from Rhode Island, how you doing? So I haven't made a pipe for a couple of days, and I kind of was thinking of getting started on a pipe tonight, but for now I'm just enjoying my coffee and maybe spark up a pipe. A car show all day, nice. Were you exhibiting or just watching? Hi Patrick. I tell you, this Orly Golden Sliced, when you open the jar, smells so good. It's hard to resist. I think this is probably my number one tobacco at the moment. When I say number one, I don't mean necessarily my best ever tobacco, but I mean the one that I'm reaching for most at the moment. Hey Boris. So Orly Golden Sliced, it's just got a lot going for it. It may not have the heft of a burley blend, but it's got sweetness, it's got tanginess, it's got fruitiness, it's got a nice citrusy kind of flavour. Admittedly, it doesn't have the lower end of the register, but in this kind of weather, it's absolutely ideal. I'm going to do the Frank method because I don't want to have a whole bowl. So I'm just going to take a clump and just have that at the top there. It should be enough for half an hour or something. A Welsh piper, sadly not. You can't get it in the UK anymore. There was a time when you could. So I've done the Frank method, which means there's a huge void underneath. It means it's about as windy as a curry house, but it also means there's plenty oxygenation going on, which means it should smoke well. Mike, how you doing? Fernando, hola. Bob's Chocolate Flake and a Stanwell Poker. Truth be told, I probably shouldn't be smoking tonight because I've still got an ulcer in my mouth. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I'll have to watch that back. It would be nice to see Marty Pulvers. From what I've read about him, he's got a good sense of humour. I can't join the virtual pipe club until we get towards the winter again. Timings just don't work out for me on a Saturday. I've got to wait till nightfall before I can turn my phone on. So this time of year I can't join. You still got a lot of work to do, Mike, or you're pretty much getting there? I did have a briar block all marked out, but might have actually used that for the last pipe, I'm not sure. 2.5 washrooms. What's wrong with 2? Interestingly with this pipe, I don't usually, but in this case, I've smoked a whole cross genre of tobaccos. As I say, I started it off with aromatics with a vanilla cream. There, we've got some more light so you can see the pipe. When I decided to take this for myself, I gave it a more steep bend. I first smoked vanilla cream. I'm trying to remember what I smoked after that, but I've definitely smoked some. It was either Northwoods or Special Latakia Flake, one of the two. I think it was Northwoods. So I had a bowl of Latakia in there, and now I'm having some Orly Golden Sliced. Good morning, Malaysia. Ajarin Majid, welcome. Salam. My top 5 2021 blends, Daniel. I don't know if I did a top anything in 2020, come to think of it. My smoking rotation has become so narrow. I used to be much more of a philanderer when it came to tobacco. I was all over the place. But these days, it's Orly Golden Sliced, vanilla cream, Special Latakia Flake, maybe Northwoods every so often. And then every so often I'll dip into something else. But most regular blends is definitely Orly Golden Sliced, vanilla cream. Maybe I'll start getting into the vanilla flake a little bit more. What footballer, Chad? What did I miss? Caleb, Desert Piper. What happened to the footballer? Collapsed during a match, man. What, literally not being touched away from the ball? He literally just dropped down? It's not the first time that's happened. I seem to remember in my memory, going back maybe 20 years or so, that one of the footballers died from sudden death syndrome. Oh. Well, it's good that he's conscious anyway. Where was it? Which football match was it? Was it in unusual heat or anything like that? Man, resuscitated on the field. Denmark versus Finland. In the Euros at the moment. UK, I'd say England. Are they in the European Cup? I'm so out of football these days. If England are in, then I'll get back into it. Because I do watch England. Hey, Rusty. We are in the Euros. Way, coming home. coming home. Football's coming home. England versus Scotland. Ooh, that should be interesting. Where's Mel Gibson when you need him, eh? If I make a commission, well, it's interesting. I was watching Jason Mouton's video the other day, and he talks about commissions. And I totally get what he was saying. If you make a commission which is completely out there, it's completely wacky, it's an absolute one-off. It fits in with no usual standards, and if the customer decides not to take it, you're going to have trouble getting rid of it. I can understand why Jason would say, I'd rather not take it on. And the vast majority of Jason's pipes seem to be sandblasted. So he's obviously got a very particular type of smooth pipe that he wants to make. So there's only a very thin window of pipes that he can actually make smooth pipes for. Whereas as long as a pipe is not flawed badly on the outside, or the grain is absolutely useless, I will generally leave it smooth and do the best that I can with the grain. No, it's an LCS, it's not a Peterson. It's an LCS egg, I suppose, with a faux horn shank band. And it's my faux blast rustication, or carve blast, I should say. But I once commissioned, I've commissioned a fair amount of pipes in my time. I commissioned a pipe from a guy, a very well-known pipe maker, who's considered moving up in the world, becoming a high-grade pipe maker. And what I commissioned was a sandblasted apple. And when he came to make it, he said he didn't want to sandblast it because it was good enough to be a smooth, and he didn't want to waste that smooth, the smooth worthy piece of briar, which I totally understood. But I have to be honest, I wasn't happy. I mean, I particularly ordered a sandblasted pipe. For me, a sandblasted pipe is a finish of its own merits. I like a sandblasted finish. A sandblasted pipe with a good ring grain, for me, sometimes is superior than a smooth. It depends on the pipe, but I like a sandblasted finish. So when I specifically ordered sandblast, to come and say that you're going to have to take it smooth, I think that's a step too far. Because he should have told me at the beginning, I'll do you the shape of pipe, but the finish I can't promise. Because if it's going to be a smooth, then I'm going to make it as a smooth. Then I would have made the choice at the time, then I'd have no complaints. But I have to be honest, I took the pipe because I just didn't, it felt awkward to me. I felt bad afterwards that I should have felt awkward about it, but that's life. It's a very nice pipe. It's a lovely pipe. It's got very nice grain, and it's a classically shaped apple. It's a lovely pipe. It's just not what I ordered. So to that extent, I actually went away from that whole deal with a bad taste in my mouth. he's lost a customer because he's a good pipe maker, but I just won't buy from him again. To treat a customer that way, it's just unfair. So far, for every commission that I've made, I've told the customer, if you like the pipe, you can have it. If you don't like it, I'm not going to force you to take it. If you want pictures while I'm making, I'm happy to do that. Many times I'll do it live. You can join in the live and you can actually get involved in the process and make decisions along the way with me. Oftentimes I'll do that. Any of you who regularly watch my lives will know that. But I'll always give the customer the choice, the option of not taking it, and no hard feelings. Because commission pipes are a very, you just don't know how it's going to come out. Neither you know, and neither the commissioner knows. You just don't know. It depends on the briar. And I've yet to have one turned down. I'm thankful to say, I'm happy to say, that all the commissions that I've made have all been taken, and customers have been very happy with them. I could have it sandblasted, but again, you're taking, James, thank you. You're taking another risk. You're putting your pipe into another pipe man's hands to get it sandblasted. It may not work out, and then you've lost out twice. At least now it's a good smooth pipe, but maybe I could sell it, or maybe I'll get to like it, or whatever. There you go, Rusty. Chad's sorted you out there. Sorry, I didn't see your... Well, what I've had with another commission, going back a few years now, the carver basically had bad luck with the block, and each time had to dump the block, and he told me that it cost him 5 blocks to actually get the pipe made. And now, I mean, I whether that's true or not, I've got no idea. I've got no reason to disbelieve the guy, but I felt bad, and what I went and did was I got onto I think it was either Vermont Freehand in those days. Rawcrafted hadn't really hit the market yet. I ordered 5 blocks and I had them send it to the pipe carver because I just felt bad for him. It was before I started making pipes, and I didn't want him to lose money over making my pipe. I can understand that, Mike. I totally understand that. And if you'd have said to me, look, this pipe is a smooth, I'm going to use it as a smooth, it's up to you if you want it or not. If not, I'll sell it as a smooth to somebody else and I'll make your sandblasted pipe from another block. Fine, no problem. But he didn't even give me that option. And he said to me, if I don't take the pipe, I'm not making another one for you. And you can take your chances on any of the pipes becoming available on my website. And I thought that was terrible customer service. Really and truly, I should have refused it. I actually regret the fact that I didn't refuse it. Yeah, Jeffrey, I got no problem with that. I had really no problem with him saying, because I know how hard it is to get a good smooth pipe. So I got no problem with him saying, actually, this pipe is going to be smooth, and you can either pay the smooth price or you can wait until a more suitable block comes up for sandblasting. I'd have understood that, no problem. He didn't give me that option. Truth be told, at the end of the day, if I was looking for a smooth pipe, then I guess I got a good deal on a smooth pipe because I didn't have to pay more money. He sold me the pipe at that price which he quoted for the sandblast. So I guess I could, if I wanted to look at it in a positive light, then there you go, Cigar. No, he didn't. He charged He charged what he quoted me. Yeah, 100%, Mike. But even if not, what I'm trying to say is that he should have simply said, "This pipe is a smooth pipe. It's a smooth grade pipe. I need to make my money out of it, so I'm going to charge more for it. If you want a sandblasted pipe, no problem. You don't have to take this pipe. I'll sell it elsewhere." Because his pipes seemingly sell very quickly, so he wouldn't have had a problem selling it. So I would have been perfectly understanding, and I would have waited for the next sandblasted pipe. In his mind, because in his mind, a smooth pipe is ultimately always going to be better than a sandblast. So he was basically assuming that I'm going to jump at the chance of getting a cheap smooth pipe, which that wasn't what I was after. I specifically wanted a sandblasted pipe off this guy. And I know, for instance, I mean, I don't know when he says that Parks, on average, he carved 3 stones. Well, he's obviously very, very fussy, and that's why he's got the reputation that he's got. But who is it? Bo Nord. When he took a commission on, he would usually do 2 at the same time, in case one didn't work out. I was reading one of Rich Esserman's articles, and he ordered off him a particular pipe. I don't remember, it might have been a ball-shaped pipe, and he did 2. And in the end, I think Rich bought both of them off him. Daniel, when you wet the block and you look at the block in its raw state, you could see some nice grain, but once you start cutting into it, you could have a huge, horrible pit in the middle. I've opened up blocks and I've had a whole worm inside. Thankfully not alive anymore, but they get in there and they eat their way around, and there's a whole little channel that it's eaten through, and at the end of it you see this petrified worm. A lot of shapes, you see some interesting shapes that come about from carvers. They come about and you look at them and you think, wow, what an artist, what a fantastic shape. How did he think of that shape? And a lot of them are, but sometimes it's because he's had to deviate around flaws in the briar in order to get the pipe, any kind of pipe, save a pipe from that block. And some carvers just won't bother. They just literally just consign it to the bin. I'm not like that generally. I do my best to try and make a pipe out of a block. And if it can't be smooth, then I'll rusticate it. Hopefully one day I'll sandblast as well. So to answer your original question, Daniel, I would always tell a commissioner, say for instance, I had an inquiry today about a cobra pipe, a bent cobra pipe. And I told the customer that I had done similar before, but I'd rather he gets me a picture of a pipe that he's seen that he likes and sends it to me. But what I tell all commission pipers is that at the end of the day, I'm going to be governed by the block of briar, and it's never going to be precise. It's going to have my style on it. It's going to be the way I carve a pipe. And as I say, they'll always have the option at the end to say yay or nay. And I won't hold it against them. I mean, if a customer is a repeat, just literally being unreasonable, and I've done 2 or 3 pipes and each time says no, then I'll reserve the right to say, we've tried, we obviously don't see each other's design ideas and we don't fit each other, and maybe ask a different pipe maker to make it for you. But to date, I've never forced a pipe on anybody. Yeah, 100%, Ian. A pipe maker does. That's kind of, when you're paying a few $100s for a pipe from one of the high graders or even more, that's you're kind of paying for that as well. You're paying for those blocks that ended up in the box under the table as well. And he does know the risks, and but still, you know, they want to try and sell their pipes. They want to do their best to sell their pipes ultimately. I don't know many pipe makers that use pink filler anymore. That mastic stuff was used by a lot of um, the factories, and it could well be that some factories still use it when they're rusticating a pipe, but it was very commonly used, you know, by factories for many years. But if they had a very bad pit, they'd gouge out the black stuff and fill it. Doesn't stop the pipe being any worse of a pipe. It's just not a particularly high quality one. It's not a high finish one. It's like buying a car, a second-hand car, which has got a dent in it. The car's going to run fine. It's just got a dent in it. Depends what you're looking for. As long as the hole doesn't go through, to the bowl or close to the bowl. As long as it's not going to affect, the integrity of the pipe. I hear what you're saying, Boris. To ask a carver to make a replica, yeah. Disrespectful to the carver or to the original maker of the pipe? Yeah, absolutely, Mike. You hit the nail on the head there. And back in the day, it was just a vehicle for smoking tobacco. It's a different ball game nowadays. And to give you a good idea of that, if you look at Blakemore Briars, perfect example. He's got pipes there which he sells for 20, 30, 40 pounds. And they're workhorses. They'll smoke your tobacco as well as any other pipe maker. But if you've got a rotation of pipes, you may not reach for them all the time. If you've got something which is just looks a little bit more appealing. I'm not in any way saying that his pipes are bad. He's got really beautiful pipes, but everybody has their particular niche that they go for. I've been at it, Rusty, for 2.5 years. The ivory inserts that I use are not. Oh, on that one, yes. That one, there was a sand pit on one side, and that's why I put the ivory in, and then I put the other two in simply to make it match, to make it symmetrical. It wasn't. I mean, I originally made the pipe and I showed it on YouTube as a finished pipe with that black spot. It was on the outside. It was superficial, but it did detract from it. So I came up with the idea to overcome that. And there was absolutely no issue with the pipe at all. But you'll see many pipes. If there was a design feature like that, a bit of inlay or something, that'll be the reason. I don't know if anybody would intentionally put inlay in the briar on the bowl walls for design reason. Although there is one guy, keep forgetting his name. I even talked to him about commissioning a pipe who's got some beautiful mother of pearl inlay in his pipes. I don't know why I can't remember his name. He's a musician. He must be in his 80s by now. But he's still making pipes. I don't remember Welsh Piper. That's why I'm saying I can't remember who it was. He's an American pipe maker and musician. There was an article about him in Pipe and Tobacco a while back. I was in touch with him on Facebook and on Messenger. I had a little backwards and forwards conversation. Morissette, Steve Morissette. There you go, popped into my memory. Steve Morissette, is it Steve? I think it's Steve Morissette. He's a bit of a dandy kind of dresser. He's a very, very spiffy kind of dresser. But he's a musician. And he makes some lovely pipes. Thank you, Rusty. He's a photographer as well. Okay. Not Jack Howell, it's Steve Morissette. It's definitely Morissette. And I can't remember the first name, but the surname is definitely Morissette. Is that proper mother of pearl or is it imitation mother of pearl? It is Steve Morissette, yeah. I do have from a guitar company, which I still haven't done yet. I think I've shown you guys before. I ordered a bunch of mother of pearl dots. I was thinking of using these as part of my branding on the pipes. You know, instead of the white spot like Donald used, to use this one, which is it's wider. It's about 2 mil, 2.5 mil, and it's a mother of pearl. It's not real mother of pearl though. It's used for guitars under the frets and things like that. That chicken, I haven't seen that pipe. Was that made specifically for Mel, for his sweet chicken thing? That's really special. $3mm backed sheets. $3mm backed sheets. I'm just trying to think how that would work. Is it a uniform, perfectly flat on both sides? Could you use it as band material, for instance? If you were to cut a piece and drill it through, does it drill okay? Can you drill it easily, or does it shatter? Or is it even on one side, but sort of textured on one side? Professor Walker in the house. How you doing? Oh, 3M. Sorry. Okay. It's like a sheet of paper. Yeah. So, okay, fine. That makes more sense. Oh wow, that's so cool, Mike. I was wondering because Luigi is the patriarch nowadays, isn't he? He's the one with the big white moustache, right? So he must be in his 80s by now, if not older. Well, we saw that 82, right? That 50th anniversary one that you've got. I assume that was done by him too. Did you guys have a meetup? Did Curtis, were you over at Steph's or you had a Zoom session? Oh, it was an 80, not a 50, sorry. Hey, Bree. Northeast Piper UK and Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil said they had a meeting today. Uncle Phil went up to Northeast Pipers and they had a joint video together, in case you haven't seen it. They enjoyed some King Edward cigars. Yeah, I mean, the pipe makers, I was reading again one of the articles by Rich Esserman, and he was talking about speaking to one of the Dunhill carvers of old and how they would behave if some guy went into the pub and saw a bunch of them sitting together. Just regular guys sitting in the pub, as far as they're concerned, but to a huge amount of people, especially in America, these guys were like gods, They were making the pipes of the day. See you, Caleb, all the best. I think my next pipe's going to be a non-filtered pipe. I've been thinking about that the last couple of days, and to try to broaden my horizons a little bit. So I think the next pipe's going to be non-filtered. Maybe do a Lovat, something similar to what I did before. I think that might be nice. No problem. Desert Pine Piper, DPP. As long as you cough up the greens, no problem. You can turn it into a commission if you wish. Tell me what you're after. We were sitting in the garden today. It was really hot today, and not as hot as it has been. Yeah, no worries, DPP. And I was dreaming. My wife she went to me like this today, all talk. Cool, Hawk, thank you very much. Chad. So I was looking at this piece of land that I've now half concreted over next to the garage. My original plan was to build a bespoke workshop next to the garage, then move everything out into there. And then I had somebody over and we were talking about it, and just the cost would have been prohibitive. So I am where I am here, but I was sitting there in the garden with my wife and just chatting about it and dreaming about the things that I need to do. Once you start, there's no end. Everything, it's just money, 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 money. To put that up, finish concreting it, that'll cost a fair bit. And putting up a structure, getting the electrics done, getting some plumbing in there possibly. I could cope without plumbing, but it would be nice to have plumbing. And that little bit of land which is behind the garage now, it's about I don't know, maybe 2/3 of a meter, maybe 700 or 800 mil. That would be perfect space to store a generator, and then just have the cables come through the door, and maybe I'll keep the sandblaster in the other half of the garage. That could probably work. And just cover over that space, and then maybe just make it completely waterproof so that the generator is safe. I'm beginning to think that Roland wasn't just Roland. Wasn't necessarily the same rat each time, because I can hear noises now. Not like I heard before. It could just be some rustling of leaves above, but I'm not sure. But I've still got the trap still set up. That trap's a 2er so far. Maybe we'll make it a 3er. And then we can say Roland, Roland, Roland. We're at Roland, Roland at the moment. That's that ball. G'day. G'day, Glenn. Good morning. How are you? Well, let us know when you've had your coffee and your ciggy, and we can talk to you. Nah, it's nothing to do with Glenn. I just want to be able to work on some blocks here, he said, trying to sound convincing. Looking at some blocks, you know, I don't get grade 1 blocks most of the time, I'll be honest with you. It's either 2 or 3. And what you notice is that the grade 1s are probably straight grain, whereas these, you have to turn them and find the straight grain. So you can see, obviously, you've got plenty of nodules on the top there, so there's plenty of grain there. It's just finding the direction. So here, like that, it's not straight, but like that, it would be straight. But what that means is you've got a much smaller area to work with. So you get one slightly taller. This one is, the center is there, and it's kind of like a sunburst rays going out from that central point. That wouldn't be too hard to get to be straight. Could get a billiard out of that. Could definitely do a billiard out of this one. You know, I don't know what makes, you know, how their grading system works, but obviously they know. You know, something like Mimo, he knows what he's doing, and you can tell. Really nice plateau, and it's very, very even. Could make a little vat from that. A little vat from that. But it looks like the grain is going across like that. Because it's not on this side, it's on that side. Actually, I'm just going to sand this one and see what it looks like, because that's a nice looking block. Give me a sec. That's not bad. Some nice grain there. The other side's a bit more of a mishmash, but it's there. It's a bit of a. It's actually, this would actually stain up very, very nicely, because, you know, sometimes when you get a straight grain, unless it's straight and evenly spaced all the way, it doesn't always look so good. But when you have this sort of crisscross, sometimes it's much more effective when you've stained it up. It's kind of a cross between straight grain and getting towards bird's eye, and it's kind of almost like a stretched bird's eye, and that really looks very, very nice. So this is kind of, you can see just over there, there's like the beginnings. If you imagine that 3D, it's kind of, it looks almost like it's at an angle, like that. And some nice bird's eye on the rim, on the base there. It's just got dirty on the table, but it's there. So I would probably make the ball around there, because the bird's eye is good there as well. And it starts to get a bit off over here, as you can see. And it's the same this side as well. So maybe we'll start mapping out a pipe. Let's have a look and see if we can work something. All right, Jeffrey, have a good one. Well, ultimately, you got to go with what sells a lot of the time, and when you have great grain, the pipes do sell. They sell themselves, you know. No question about that. So when I cut into the block, I have to decide whether or not I go for a wider shank like I did recently, like an oval, or if I go for a standard round. It really depends. If the bird's eye is good, I might go wider on the shank. Strange link to straight grain, absolutely. Anthony Gray, hi. You know, probably 20, 30 years ago, cross grain was more popular than straight grain. Welsh piper. When it comes to meerschaums, you need to just make sure that you're going to a reliable place. You want to make sure that it's block meerschaum, not pressed meerschaum, and ask to see the tenon, the mortise and tenon. But sometimes they're really very poor, the mortise and tenon. So you just get an idea. Ask to see the bit as well. Sometimes they really don't take much care about the stem at all. You get these orange plastic stems which are, or even if they're acrylic, decent quality acrylic, but they oftentimes they won't shape the bit very much. You'll end up with a bite zone which is very, very thick. You can mess around with it and adjust it afterwards, but you got to be careful because they don't necessarily taper the drill bit, so you might have quite a big draft hole drilled in that yellow stem, and you can't thin it much because it's got such a wide draft hole. So, all right, if you've got 3 from the same guy and you know who you're buying from, that sounds like a good price. Yeah. If you get a good bird's eye cross grain, it's spectacular. I've had a couple which I've had such a hard time selling them because I wanted to keep them. I did a bent apple maybe a year or so ago, and I sold it to a guy who bought 8 pipes off me straight in one shot, and they were all LCS pipes, so I couldn't very well say you can't have it. And it started off with that pipe that was a commission, and then he asked me to show what else I've got, and I showed him what I had in stock at the time, and he bought 8 pipes at the time. But that's one pipe which I still think about today. The rest of the pipe was, pretty standard. Good drill, good shape, good stem, good everything. But the bowl was just spectacular. The grain was spectacular. I think I left it natural, but cross grain perfectly center, and the sides were just the most beautifully structured bird's eye. I like the bird's eye which is surrounded by the lines. Sometimes you just have thick bird's eye, and sometimes you have bird's eye which has got this kind of structural framework around it almost. It was one of those, and it was just spectacular. Yeah, I was talking about that before, Phil. One of the sides of this here is where you get the bird's eye elongated. It's kind of stretching because you've got it at an angle, and if you got to imagine the block in 3D, and you kind of got a stretched bird's eye, so it's between straight grain and bird's eye. I think that looks really, really very good, and you get almost sometimes this crisscross effect on the block. And I've got that on this block a little bit, so I'm actually looking forward to see how this one comes out. So I'm going to turn this with quite a wide shank to start with because I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with it yet. It really depends on what the grain looks like. So I'm going to cut it with a wide berth to give me room. Let's put this box back. Hope it's not one of mine, Josh, but it could be just a bit of ebonite dust in there somewhere. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that bird's eye there, and that straight grain there, and that there, and that there. It's looking promising. I'll have to think on what shape I want to do with this. You guys are very descriptive. That straight grain is looking awesome. Sorry, I mean the bird's eye. My Wi-Fi connection is playing up. The natural finish, well, I'll see when I get to it if it carries it or not. It really depends on the colour of the grain. Sometimes you've got a grain which really pops on its own, and you don't need to have any staining. If it's really clean, then I'll consider that, certainly. In the words of Julia Roberts, it's got potential. It really does look good. That's where we've got so far. And on this side is the sort of more of the crisscrossy kind of grain, which does look very nice when it's stained up, I have to be honest. What this really needs to make the most of it is some kind of like an Eskimo type of pipe, really, to make the most of this grain. I think I'm going to try and do that. Also plenty of bird's eye there as well. I mean, I'm on the FaceTime camera, so it's not the best camera, but it's not as dense as this top side, but it has got a really nice grain on the bottom as well. It's a nice block. It is a nice block. Maybe I'll do something along the lines of an Eskimo type idea, keeping the base really broad. I don't think I'll put a band on this one. Hey Adil, how you doing? This one is a grade 3, I think it was, or 2, I'm not sure. It was either 2 or 3. So I think it's very possible that when Mimo grades it, it depends on its location on the burl. If it's on the outer sort of edges, which it would be to have plateau. So obviously that's not the reason that it's on the outer edge, but the position on the outer edge, presumably some of those get a lower grading. What's the time? 1:30. Not sure if I should make a start on this or not. I think I will leave it as it is now. Tightness of grain. Okay. Well, if that's a 3. To me, the crucial thing is that there just shouldn't be loads of pits in it. That's more crucial than anything. Because even if you have a really nice straight grained pipe, if it's full of pits, even if they're just superficial, it just takes away from the overall beauty of the pipe. Not going to affect the smokability of it, but in some ways, a clean piece of briar with average grain, sometimes, not always, sometimes can be better than a straight grain pipe with lots of little black dots on it. Yeah, I'm not going to cut into it tonight. It's well, I've cut into it already, but I'm beyond this stage. It's 1:30 in the morning, so. Hey James, I haven't got any black dots. I mean, it's clean at the moment. I'm just hoping that it won't show any black dots. It's looking really clean, and some of them could sound away. It's true if you do get them. How you doing, James? Yeah, absolutely. That can be a can of worms. You don't know what you're getting into sometimes. Tell you the truth, Andrew, a lot of times those dots can appear after they're smoked. The heat can bring them to the surface. So, sometimes you could make a pipe which looks absolutely clear, and it's only later on you start to see the dots. So, I mean, it could be. I mean, his grading and his nomenclature, and he's very well known here in the UK for being all over the place because he did like the odd sherbet every so often, and he often did things in a non-consistent kind of way. It's not to besmirch him in any way. His pipes are amazing, but you know, well, if not hand cut, it'll certainly have a lot of hand finishing. We'll see. We shall see. Maybe I will do a hand cut one. I do have some largish block, sort of thick diameter, so I could actually do some sculpting, do something interesting maybe. I've got to just decide what I'm doing with the block. Maybe I'll have a look online at some Eskimo shapes and get some inspiration from that. I'll make that decision once I know what I'm doing with the pipe. Are you talking about a current Ashton pipe, or you're talking about a Bill Taylor one? Oh, current, yeah, no, I thought you were talking about Bill Taylor. But current ones, silver grey, yeah. I take it you meant Partagas, James. Bully does a nice Eskimo. Oh, you mean Jeremiah? Oh, you've got a bullfrog pipe, Andrew? I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own tastes, their own preferences. But, you know, it's nice that he's carved out a particular thing that he's known for. I don't know if he's unique in that, but he certainly made it his own. I mean, there are sort of gum nuts out there, but he certainly made his own particular style. You know, it's a very small type of thing. He uses some fantastic stem material as well. Yeah, exactly, James. Autocorrect is a nightmare. Yeah, we said that the other day, Phil. I bet he didn't predict that, did he? Not being nasty or anything. I'm smoking an H. Upmann half Corona. It's a small little cigar. It's about 3 or 3.5 inches, and it's a 44 ring gauge, which is, yeah, it's 3.5 inches. 44 ring gauge. It's a nice short smoke, but it's very flavorful. You've got an Eskimo, Andrew? Who's that made by? Oh, his one's made by Jeremiah. So which Zoom group is this? You'll have to send me an invite, Glenn. Fuentes Hemingway short stories are very nice. I went through a period where I had 3 or 4 different types of Hemingways, and they were all really nice, really good smokes. No, I definitely do not like flavoured cigars. The H. Upmanns here are Cuban, yeah. Oh, Chad's one, right, okay, fine. It really depends where I'm up to in my day. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm not. Drew Estates are fantastic. If you, well, they do a huge range of cigars, including flavoured cigars, which I don't like. But their underground cigars are fantastic. I was on a couple of Chad's Zooms, but I find that I'm a lot of the time sort of almost dropping off, half asleep. It's late. I was on last week, the last one, Tuesday. And I think you were on there, Glenn. We were talking. So the problem with Cuban cigars is that they're tight. I've had 2 out of this. I had a box delivered just now on Friday, and that's the problem with Cuban cigars. I've had 2 out of that box so far. One on Friday, one now. Both of them tight. Both of them had to be prodded. It was late for me, yeah. It's an H. Upmann half Corona. It's a small 3.5 inch cigar, 44 ring gauge. Yeah, that unfortunately, I mean, it's a good cigar. It's not even a year old, but it tastes great. What I will tell you guys out there, Cuban cigar fans, if you can get 2020 cigars, get them. It seems to have been a fantastic year for Cuban cigars, flavour-wise. The rolling, nobody can guarantee, but flavour, a great year. So far, all of the 2020 cigars, Cuban cigars that I've got, all tasted great, almost from the off. I think this was October maybe, 2020, so not even a year. Yeah, me too, Andrew. I don't have any Connies. But if you get this one, you'll have a similar experience. It comes from the same house, obviously. It's the same DNA. Not all of the H. Upmanns taste the same. So for instance, the Magnum 46, I don't care for that much. I've had them. They're okay, but they don't have the same floral, kind of sweet floral flavour. The creaminess. This one, when you start this one off, it's buttery smooth. It's beautiful sort of almost like a peanut butter flavor. It's very buttery and nutty. That sort of goes and becomes more of that H. Upmann floral, with that little bit of spice, a little bit of the Cuban tang kind of thing. The Connoisseur Number One is a bigger version of this, and this, because it's a small smoke, it's kind of, you're into the flavor straight away. I really like these. They're great for a quick smoke. But when it's hard to draw like this, it's not that quick. I'd like to make it another piercing. See, the problem is when you put anything thick in it, it ends up splitting it. And they're a good price. If you're buying them online, you'll pay something like $115 to $125 for a box of 25. And to be honest with you, I prefer the shorter smokes these days, because I find that I don't really have an hour and a half, 2 hours to really enjoy a cigar. So when I'm out here, I'll have a cigar, but I'll leave it and I'll keep relighting it. So it's okay, it's fine. But if I really want to enjoy it, then I would, be inside doing some work on my computer or something like that. When I'm out here working, I just want to enjoy the tobacco, enjoy the smoke, but I'm not really focusing on it in terms of, getting the subtleties and all of that kind of thing. Yeah, Andrew, that's exactly it. It's a different concept of cigar flavor. The Cubans are more subtle. They're sweeter. They've got a sweet spice, not a peppery spice. They've got a sweet spice to them. And nowadays, I find that most of the Habanos brands, the Cuban brands, they're quite similar. They've all got a similar kind of Cuban flavor, but each one has a very slight difference. And once you start smoking Cubans regularly, you can appreciate the differences. People who have smoked Americans, or I call them American, but New World cigars, all of their lives, and suddenly smoke a Cuban cigar, they don't understand what the fuss is about. It becomes, for them, it's a very mild, bland tasting cigar. It doesn't have any flavor. You have to kind of completely neutralize your palate in order to appreciate the Cuban cigars. $86, Josh. That's very good. You'd have come high up in a competition if you were in a competition. Orange float. I wouldn't know what that is either. Stacking nicely, nice white ash. Well, the Dorchester, unless you let it dry. I didn't know you liked Dorchester. Is that one of your esotericas that you do like? Vanilla ice cream and orange soda. Interesting. Interesting description. You got gifted some H. Hartman 2-year aged Let's limited release tins. Tins of what? Oh, you mean these 5 cigar tins? Those ones? Pipe tobacco. I didn't know they make pipe tobacco. I guess that's the American ones. (2011) Cohiba. Wow. That sounds like it was lost on you, Hawk. I do have some Dorchester. I used to smoke that quite a lot. If I remember correctly, it's a Virginia with a bit of a fruity topping. Is that right? Oh, HU. Sorry. I misunderstood. HU. Oh, well, yeah. HU's great. Which ones did you smoke, Andrew? It's a vapor. But it seems to have a bit of a, if I remember correctly, it had a bit of a fruity kind of flavour. Man, 2011 Cohiba. What? Which Cohiba was it? Which Vitola was it? A vapor with a little birdie and Kentucky. Well, if it's really a condiment, the birdie and Kentucky, and it doesn't take over the Virginias, then that sounds like an interesting blend. Knowing HU, you might even have a little bit of a topping on there as well. Rockinanti. I have to check if I've got Dorchester in a jar, because I definitely had it in a jar for a while, but I might have finished it. I know I've got a tin. I'm sure I've got a tin. I might even have a bag. I'm not sure. I have to check my cellar. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember what I've got. I've got a few of the bags. I just don't remember which ones they are. I have to check. A Churchill size. Ooh. Well, that sounds like you may have had a Siglo 6. Was it a torpedo or was it a normal cap? Was it a tapered cap? Durbar is a Virginia. It doesn't. Does that have Latakia in it? Dorchester, I've got. I think I've got Tilbury. I haven't got Peacehaven. I don't think I've ever had Peacehaven. But Peacehaven is one of the ones that you can usually find when there's a drop because people don't go for that one. Another vapor. So you're really into your vapors. I'll have to have a check and see what I've got. I'm pretty sure I've got Tilbury and Dorchester. I know I've got Margate. I think I've got 2 bags of Margate. Not that I'm a fan of it, I just had the opportunity to get them. I know I've got a bag of Penzance. I've got 3 or 4 bags. I have to check. But Dorchester, I know that I like Dorchester. I've had that before. Tilbury, has that got a bit of a brandy topping in there? Durbar is a Balkan. There you go. So it has got Latakia in it. And presumably Orientals. Hey, Bon. So has Tilbury got some kind of wine topping on it? Because if it has, I can't have it, and I can definitely send it your way. Oh, that's Pembroke. Okay, Pembroke has got what's his name topping, hasn't it? Is it brandy? Durbar and Dunbar. Well, one of them's Dunhill or Peterson now. I think Durbar is yeah, it's Peterson's now. I'll have to try Balkan Sobranie again. I have the Danish Pipe Shop, well, the My Own Blend one. I've got a tin of that. But I think I've got a tin of Balkan Sobranie as well. But it looks like you got a nice selection there. Mature Virginias, okay. I obviously got mixed up with Pembroke. You don't like Latakia? You're a fuss pot, aren't you? You don't like Stonehaven, you don't like Latakia. Flipping Aussies. No, I haven't, James. Your one is on the next run. It's on my desk, so it's the next run. Hopefully in the next day or 2 it'll go out. And I know it's got to go in a certain religious receptacle. He likes what he likes. Glenhaven. And now you've got me stumped, Glenn. You say RDF is nice, but Stonehaven is not. They're pretty much the same tobacco. Unless you're being an Aussie and just messing us around. No, I think you're right, Boris. I think you're probably right. I don't think Durbar did come out. Ah, it's very similar. What's you having on? Who are you kidding? When was the last time you smoked them back to back, Glenn? It's very, very similar. There's a nut's hair between them. And as I like to say very often, whenever I can, I've heard it from the horse's mouth. I spoke to Robert Germain, and he told me the same. Now, unless he's lying, but he told me it's pretty much the same tobacco with very, very slight change due to licensing rules. But otherwise, he says they're pretty much the same. I haven't seen the dark flake, but I did find a tin of Dunhill dark flake in my cellar. I was rooting around in my cellar to see what I could put in people's boxes, and I found a tin of dark flake. I was never a big fan of it, so I when I first started the Dunhills, I smoked it. I smoked the light flake, or what it's called. It became Dunhill flake. Um, I'm kicking myself for not keeping some of those. The early, I used to have the early Dunhill, the light flake tins, the blue and white tins, the oblong ones, the rectangles. I'm kicking myself for not having some in my cellar. I enjoyed that tobacco. I've got plenty of Dunhill flake in my cellar. When was the last time you tried Stonehaven, Glenn? Oh man, that's bad. I'll try to remember to send you some rich dark flake. Have you got any at the moment? I think he was on a sherbet and he smoked a bit of fertilizer rather than the Stonehaven. I'll try to remember to send you some. I bought a 50-gram top up, and in the end I just stuck it in somebody's box. I sent a bunch of parcels out last week. All the pipes that I had to send out, I got sent out, and a few of them I snuck in a bit of tobacco. And one of them I didn't even open it. I don't think I even opened it. It's just a 50-gram bag from GQ Tobaccos, and I just stuffed it in somebody's box. I buy mostly from GQ Tobaccos, Welsh Piper. Why wouldn't I be willing to give you a name? GQ Tobaccos. You could also try My Smoking Shop. Those are the two that I buy the most from. But without a doubt, GQ is my main place that I buy from. Wow, Barn, are you here in the UK or where are you? Good morning, Charlotte. How you doing, man? Essex boy. You're a lucky boy to find a bit of Dunhill flake. Well, if you do come, we're definitely getting together. Andrew, definitely. We'll have to work something out that we can spend a day or something. Do something interesting. and definitely do a video together. The original GQ tobaccos, yeah, some of them were. Some of them were. I mean, the Asquith mixture, which is a vapor, I think was richer in the original. Happy as a pig in a mudslide. Yeah, not doing too bad, thank you. Well, the way things are going at the moment, I'm a bit nervous because Monday, Boris Johnson is supposed to be making an announcement. We're supposed to the original roadmap was to come out of any kind of restrictions to go back to normal life on the 21st of June. So, so this coming Monday, he was going to announce that it was going to happen the following Monday. But the way things are going, the Indian variant is now on the increase here in the UK. So it's a bit worrying because with everything that's going on, at the end of the day, I'd still rather that he, had a sensible approach. We've come this far, keep hacking away at the vaccines, which is we've been doing very well here in the UK. They've already got a huge percentage of the population vaccinated, so the risk, assuming that it's resilient and resistant to the Indian variant, the data which I'd like to hear is whether or not it has been resistant, if any of the new cases are people who have had the vaccine already, because that would have a huge impact on his decision, I'm sure. Glenn Quelch, yeah. Glyn, his name's Glyn. Glynn. Yeah, I mean, the Asquith mixture, he put in a shed load of perique. Usually in a vapor, you'd have about 6 or 7% of perique, and I think he put in something like 15%, which is very high. Well, thankfully, I've been able to go into my parents for quite some time now. In the beginning, we were very religious about it, and I followed the guidelines. I wasn't going to, whether you believe it or you don't believe it all, I'm certainly not taking a risk with my parents. So I kept my distance, and I still haven't sort of embraced my parents, although they have been embracing the kids. But I wasn't taking any risks. I'm certainly not going to have that on my conscience. This is getting really punchy now. For a little cigar, it's got plenty of flavour. Well, she knows it. She's in the thick of it, so she knows what she's talking about, Andrew. What kind of medical environment is she in? Is she in a hospital, a home, a surgery? Well, they're talking about third jab here as well, to top up, around December time. But they're now into the 20-year-olds, 20-plus-year-olds, which is amazing. My 25-year-old got a message offering him a jab. Hospital rehab. Rehab as in people who have had injuries and need physical therapy, or drug rehab? The oldest tobacco I've got, uh, is probably from the 1940s, 50s. It's a big tin of half and half, cutter top tin. All right, Hawk, thanks for joining. All the best. But I've got some really, really nice old tobacco, which some tobacco is at an age where you just think it's so old, you don't want to smoke it. And I know at some point I'm going to do a tobacco sale. I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I haven't done it yet. But I've got some McClellans from the 90s, very early on McClellans, and that stuff should be fantastic. I've got quite a few McClellan tins from the 2000s, 2003, that kind of time. I've got an 8-ounce bag of Haddo's Delight from 2003. I've got quite a few not McClellan, McBaron tins from the 70s. Well, the Ashton is made by McClellan. Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah, it's made by McClellan. I've got an Ashton. I didn't really like it. It was actually an aromatic Ashton. Can't remember what it's called. A grey tin, 100-gram tin. But I didn't really like it. I'd have to try it again maybe. Also from the 90s, yeah. Tree had an amazing tin of Balkan Sobrani, which I still regret when I smoked it. It was at the 2019 or 2018 Nottingham Pipe Show, and he got it in one of his boot sale escapades, car boot sales. He got a tin of 759, I think it was, and he gave everybody a pinch to try. I was busy doing videos and all that kind of stuff. I loaded it in my pipe and I smoked it. It was a stupid thing to do. I should have taken it home and sort of savoured it. But everybody else who smoked it said it was the most amazing tobacco. But I just didn't. I didn't appreciate it at all at the time. I regret that. That's what that Haddo's Delight is a bit to me. Also very, very fermented. We were on a Zoom with Tree last Wednesday. His last car boot sale, he came back with 20-odd pipes. Unbelievable, that man. And he does come. Sometimes he gets some fantastic pipes. He really does. And recently he came with I don't remember the maker. I think it was a German pipe maker. A beautiful, sort of high grade pipe, which I think he paid a fiver for. He does have some really good pipes. I mean, the vast majority of them are just, old pipes, which, from the old days when everybody smoked a pipe here in the UK. But some of them he gets are amazing. Yeah, his ROPs are amazing. I mean, that huge one that he's got is just ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Yeah, somebody was who was interviewed. One of the guys, one of the main sort of tobacconists, was talking about he used to work behind the tobacconist's counter, and he would take the original, whenever he fancied a tin of Bolton Sobrani or the original Lane Crown Achievement, and just whenever he fancied, he'd just take one off the shelf, and it was just a normal thing. It's like us picking up, I don't know, Prince Albert off the shelf, like you guys picking up Prince Albert off the shelf. It was just a normal thing. Oh, it was one of those kind of breaks. Fair enough, Glenn. Even prisoners get those. Josh. Somehow the conversation always goes south at some point. We just have to hold it back, put it back from the brink. Before I forget, Andrew, if you get a second to pull out that Eskimo and send me a few pictures, I'd appreciate it from all angles. That would be awesome. Thanks. Appreciate that, Andrew. Would like to get cracking on that at some point tomorrow, probably in the afternoon or evening, depending on what torture the wife has in store for me. Just by the way, the guys who talk about it the most are the most deprived. Oh yeah, definitely Tom Eltine. Yeah, he does amazing stuff with the grain though. I think he's the king of grain, golden contrast. Although there are some guys on Instagram, they got some amazing the way. I mean, Yeti pipes, for instance. I don't know the guy, but he puts out some stunning. I don't know if he takes the pictures when it's wet or if that's the finish. If his pipes actually look that way. or for these guys who post pictures of very, very wet looking shiny pipes, if that's when they are actually wet, or if they're... He does say that he does some kind of process, oiling process, like a 3 or 4 layer oil process. But I find that if I sand to a higher grit, it depends on the briar as well. Some briar takes to that better than others. Mica, okay. He gets this. He's got an interesting color to his stain. It's like a yellow and black, the finish on his pipes, Yeti pipes, and he's also got this amazing way of getting a combination of smooth and plateau on the top of his pipes, and he obviously goes for a certain type of block because they always look the same and they look fantastic. Yeah, this cigar is too small to fit into any of my pipes. Well, I mean, I used to sand my pipes to 600. Recently, I've been doing 800 and 1,000, even 1,200. But it's funny how on some pipes it works better than others. It's obviously dependent on the briar. It's something which I'm still discovering at the moment. But it definitely, when you have a pipe which is, for instance, sometimes you might buy a new pipe and it's really nice and shiny and glossy, and after a while it dulls and it becomes really quite matte. And then unless you rebuff it with carnauba wax, it's going to be very matte finish. Chances are those pipes have been sanded to a 400 or maybe a 600 grit. But I think that when you sand to a higher grit, even when it dulls, it's still a lot smoother because it is actually smoother because you've sanded it smoother. And as long as you haven't skipped any grits along the way, it should be really good. You're thinking of the song by Men at Work. I can't remember the words. Something like that. She made me nervous. Something like that. I can't remember the words. Good song though. Oh, here we go. You come from a land down under. That's it. It's quite the roach clip you have there, Simon. What's a roach clip? We'll just have to send them some more Stonehaven. That'll finish them off. A device to use on a joint when it gets very small. Okay, fair enough. It's a round file. That's gone out now. And we'll leave that at that. No, Mike, it's made from the mites that bite on the butts of vegans. Babies, I would have thought, Chad. It was probably invented in Japan, somewhere along there. They use anything in Japan. He'll probably say, I'm right here, XJ. Good morning, Mario Bianchi. Ciao. All right, people. He's Tasmanian. Well, there you go. Close enough. Well, it's 2:30. So I think I'm going to wish you all good night, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Hope you've had a good chinwag, a good chat amongst yourselves. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Glenn. G'day to you. Member of the PCOL. Good. Hopefully we'll be able to get back over there at some point soon. Cheers, Mike, James, Andrew, Chad, Mario, Welsh Piper, Glenn, Rusty. Who else have we got here? Patrick, Boris. Boris is always there. Boris is there. Charlotte, if he's still there. Phil. And everybody else, thank you very much for joining. Ta-ta for now indeed. Good night, everybody. Catch you on the next one. Perhaps we'll go live doing some of that.